Welcome to our Good Friday thought for the day. The reading from Luke 23, 27 to 49. A great crowd of people followed Jesus, including women who were mourning and wailing for him. Jesus turned and spoke to them. "Daughters of Jerusalem," he said, "don't cry for me. Cry for yourselves instead. Cry for your children. Listen, the time is coming when you will say a blessing on the barren, a blessing on wombs that never bore children and breasts that never nursed them. At that time, people will start to say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and on the hills, 'Cover us.' Yes, if it was that way, do with the green tree, that will happen to the dry one." Two other criminals were taken away with him to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified him there, with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. "Father," said Jesus, "forgive them. They don't know what they're doing." They divided his clothes, casting lots for them. The people stood around watching. The rulers hurled abuse at them. "He rescued others," he said. "Let him try rescuing himself. If he really is the Messiah, God's chosen one." The soldiers added to the taunts coming up and offering him cheap wine. "If you're king of the Jews," they said, "rescue yourself." The charge was written above him: "This is the king of the Jews." One of the bad characters who was hanging there began to insult him. "Are you the Messiah?" He said. "Rescue yourselves and us too." But the other one told him off. "Don't you fear God?" he said. "You're sharing the same fate as he is. In our case, it's fair enough. We're getting exactly what we asked for. This fellow hasn't done anything out of order." Jesus went on, "Remember me when you..." he went on, "Remember me when you finally come king." "I'm telling you the truth," Jesus replied. "You will be with me in paradise this very day." By the time of the 6th hour, darkness came over all the land. The sunlight vanished until the 9th hour. The veil of the temple was ripped from down in the middle. And Jesus shouted out at the top of his voice, "Here's my spirit, Father. You can take care of it now." And with that he died. The centurion saw what happened and praised God. "This fellow," he said, "really was in the right." All the crowds who came together for the spectacle saw what happened and then went away beating their breasts. Those who knew Jesus, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, remained at a distance and watched the scene. Struck again, like I was earlier this week, with Jesus' reaction to his situation, or actually his lack of reaction, or is it action? He was dying on a cross, the death of a common criminal, tortured, mocked, literally hung out to dry for all to see. In contrast to this situation, silence. Well, we say silence. The words he did offer were forgiveness, were for solace to a criminal who acknowledged who Jesus was and to say he would see him in paradise. Words of forgiveness and comfort. In silence and forgiveness. It's total contrast to our situation where, wherever we are, whatever we do, if we're on the receiving end of injustice, we want to shout about it. We want to talk about our rights that are over and above our responsibilities. But if it's unjust, it's unjust. I want my rights. I want what's coming to me. I'm struck by the contrast of how we generally behave and how Jesus behaved. I want us all this Good Friday to reflect on that, to reflect on the idea of the difference between how Jesus acts in those situations and how we act in situations. Yet again, maybe we can take a leaf out of his playbook. Maybe we can reflect more deeply, think more deeply, pray more deeply before we react and scream injustice. We may be right, and we may be in a situation of extreme injustice. Let's look to Jesus, see how he reacts, to find peace, to find shalom, and to find an end to our situation, whatever that may be.